And what I want to know is, are you stuck? Are you stuck in your business because you don't have the funding to push things forward? Are you stuck starting your business because you feel like you don't have enough, right? Are you stuck because you are using your personal credit and you're leveraging your personal credit and to do business, and now your score is suffering and you're running into limits and issues? About to show you this evening the exact blueprint for how you can start to leverage business credit outside of your personal at 0% interest for 12 to 18 months. And this is up to $100,000, $150,000, $120,000 in the next 30 days, without having to submit tax returns, without having to have business revenue, without having to have bank statements, without having to have all those things, right? And you can push your life forward at the fastest rate possible. I'm about to go through that blueprint tonight, and I'm answering any questions that you have to be able to make sure that you've got all the information that you need to push things forward. All right. I want you to be able to have the access and have the exposure to be able to make sure that you can get the funding that you need to skyrocket your dreams, right? And fast track your freedom so that you can live in your God-given purpose and not have to worry as much about money, but to be able to push things forward. Edisi, what's up? Good evening. So who am I again? I'm Kyle Alexander. I am a investor, a husband, musician, father, and I have been in the entrepreneurship space for the past 4 years or so, 4 to 5 years, and done real estate and personal development coaching and different things like that. But one thread that's throughout it is I learned about business credit in that process. And in that process, as I learned about business credit, I realized the power of it. And between myself and my wife, eventually, over the course of about 2 years, we were able to obtain over $500,000 in business credit that we could use towards investment, towards assistance, towards mentorships, and getting into amazing rooms and meeting amazing people to push things forward. All right. So, Joanna, good evening. What's up? Target Resources and user 3656. Good evening. So you guys make sure you get a pen. Make sure you take notes, because this is high level information and it is very accessible information, accessible to you, really to anybody. And this is a formula. And once you know the formula, that's the good thing about this. Once you know the formula, you can implement it, you can access it, and you can get yourself unstuck, right? To be able to say, in the next 30 days, I could access 100K at 0% interest, right? Business credit. I could access 80K. I could access 120K, 150K. And what doors is that going to open up for me? Right? That is the question I'm looking to answer tonight. So please put your questions in the chat. I'm diving straight into it. So if you have a question and you feel like something might be holding you back from moving forward, or you feel like you don't know, is this for you or not? Han, thanks for the follow. Is this for you or not? I want you to put your questions in the chat. I have paid a significant amount of money for this information, right? Both as a client when I was first starting out, and now as a mentee. And then I started figuring out, okay, I need to help people with this. I need people to know how to do this. So now I've been helping out clients, and now I work with a team that helps to do this very thing. So I want to show you the exact blueprint. So please put your questions in the chat. Take advantage of me while I am here so I can get your questions answered. But we're going to go through the exact blueprint, right? This is exactly what you need to be able to access this without having to submit any documentations. This is no doc funding, right? Joanna says, you need business funding now, PG. Are you saying no PG? Let me know if you're saying no PG, Joanna, because that's an important thing to understand why and when we would leverage the PG, right? And let me just say, Joanna, the best way to get into no PG funding, right? You might not want to hear this. The best way to get into no PG funding is actually to leverage our personal credit in the beginning. Let me explain this in 30 seconds, Joanna. Let me explain this in 30 seconds, right? If we leverage this profile that I'm about to tell you, right, And what this results in for our business credit score and profile, what this results in is we have now trade lines on our business credit report that are $10,000 at a time because we're getting these different business credit cards, $20,000, $25,000, $40,000, and these large limit lines that are showing up on our business credit report. When we start off on that foot, that actually gives us the best standing to be able to go into no PG funding later, right? Where we're not having to worry about our personal guarantee, but because we set the business up on a good, strong foot, right? So when we talk about no PG, a lot of people say, okay, you need to be able to get net 30 accounts and you need to go to different vendors and things like that. Ayla, thanks for the follow. You need to go to different vendors and things like that, right? Which is cool. But when you start like that from scratch, your business has no history and things like that, you can build it up. But what you're going to access at the end of that journey is going to be a lot less, right? And a lot more limited. And there's certain things you can do. There's certain strategies you can navigate, but it's going to be very limited compared to this other route. Because when you go to these vendors, these net 30 accounts, right? And you say, I go to Uline, I'm going to Quill, I'm going to Granger, and give me these net 30s, and my business is brand new. This is how you build it up, right? However, they're going to give you $1,000 limit, $500 limit for net 30, right? To be able to push things forward. All right. So what's the problem with that is those are very, very low limits to start off with. Now, if you go this other route and say, I'm going to leverage this strategy that Kyle's telling me, and I'm going to lean into my personal profile to push me into the door with these banks. When I get in the door with the banks, now I'm getting approvals for 10,000, for 20,000, for 15,000, right? For 25,000, for 50,000. And when those show up on my business credit report, that is the best way to be able to leverage in the future no PG funding, right? It's a different mindset, because now even if I wanted to build out my business credit after that, after I do those funding rounds and these things are showing up on my business credit report, these high limit, right? And these financial trades, which are some of the most powerful, right? Because it's just like money, right? When I leverage that to begin with, and then I go back to Uline and I go back to Quill and I go back to Granger and all these different things, now they're going to give me much higher limits because they look at my business and say, oh, you've been managing $20,000, $50,000 lines, $30,000 lines, $15,000 lines. So we're going to give you much higher limits. So now everything that you do as a part of that journey is going to be a lot higher and a lot bigger. So let me know if that makes sense, Joanna Hartfield. Let me know if that makes sense, right? Everything is going to be lower, right? This is why I'm encouraging you to reconsider, right? Even the concept of no PG, I want you to reconsider that, because the power that you can access, what you can access when you lean into leveraging your personal credit profile, right? And when you build up your personal credit profile, everything is better, right? Because in your personal life, everything's going to cost less because you're going to be paying less interest. You have more access to things, right? Everything is better now. And when you get business credit and when you combine that and say, okay, I'm going to execute my business, right, by leveraging business credit, that does not show up on my personal. So now I'm able to make moves on this side, and I've strengthened my personal profile to get into the door with the banks. But now I'm using this business credit that does not show up on my personal credit profile, right? And that means my personal credit stays intact. How do I know this? All right. A case in point, this is my own situation, is I have, like I've told you, between myself and my wife, we've obtained over $250,000 each. That's over $500,000 for our household to be able to leverage towards business and all sorts of things. Ali01, thanks for the follow. Right? To be able to leverage towards business and all sorts of things, right? And we have balances on some of these cards because we've been doing things and some things have gone well, some things have gone not so well, right? So there's balances on some of these cards, and our personal credit, the last time I looked at my score, was literally 850 on one bureau, 847 on that, like 843, things like that, totally untouched, right? And this is how we're able to leverage this personal to get into the door, but it doesn't have to stay that way, right? So I want to answer your questions, right? Because again, Joanna, like I said, you can leverage this now, right? And if you build it up the right way, it's a very strong foot to start on. And we're saying that you can get access to 100K in the next 30 days. You cannot do that. Again, if you think about it from the bank's perspective, because the no PG says I'm bringing an entity to the table, and I want you to give my entity money. And if I close this entity's doors tomorrow, you have no recourse. There's nothing you can do. they're going to be a lot tighter with that, which is why if you get to the end of that rainbow and build up your business credit scores and things like that, you might get a $5,000 card, $10,000 card here and there, but if we're talking about stacking up 100, 120,000, 150,000, right? This is totally possible and totally standard with a lot of our clients, right? So this is exactly what we want to do. So we said, how and where do we start? Alan Anderson. Yep, this is exactly what we're going to talk about. Exactly where to start, right? So Greg, you says don't borrow anything and no interest. Okay, so we have 0% interest on these cards. That's what we're doing. That's why we're leveraging this strategy, because there's 0% interest to start off with for 12 to 18 months. So what can you execute in that time? All right, so I'm going to go through, get to your questions, and we're going to break down this exact blueprint. What is the strategy between your personal credit profile, right, and your business entity structure? When you marry those two together, then you can have access to it. Please, you guys, share this with somebody. Number one, please hit the like button, because this is life-changing information. Life-changing information, and someone could stumble across this and realize, oh, I didn't even know that this existed. I was talking to somebody today that said, okay, well, what about my how much business revenue do I have to have? How many bank statements do I have to show? You don't have to show any bank statements. You don't have to show any business revenue, and you can still access 100K, 120K. That's crazy, right? I talked to someone else that was saying, okay, well, what about my job, my W-2, right? What do I have to show with that? You don't have to submit W-2s with this approach, right? Again, there's lots of ways to get funded, but when you do this in this way and you leverage this properly, it can be one of the most powerful things, because it removes so much of the red tape. It removes so much of the hesitations and things that are probably blocking you now, right? And that's why I want you to ask your questions. George Francis, thanks for the follow, and thanks for sharing, you guys. Be bold, thanks for the follow. Rashid, thanks for the share. All right, Lady K, thanks for the follow. Right, I want you to put your questions in the chat. I have no gatekeep in me. I will say this real quick before we get started. I have no gatekeep in me. I do believe in abundance. So I want to give you as much sauce as possible, right? Everything that I got, because I believe if your life is improved by this information that I'm about to share, then that's great, right? Yep. If your life is improved by this information, then that's what I want to see, right? Now, if you decide to work with us on this, then great, because then now I know that you're in good hands at least, right? So the other thing that I want to emphasize is that because of that abundance mindset, I know I wanted to start off this business from a state of giving, right? And I want the next generation to be able to be more equipped, more have more resources and more tools than when we started. So for that reason, I have committed to donate a portion of my profit towards a fund that's going to be helping young entrepreneurs to get into business, to get into mentorship, to get into investment, to get into financial literacy, to get into wealth creation and wealth building, so that we can change the generational wealth landscape across the board. So if that is something that you are interested in as well, then we are in the right place, right? Then we can be friends. But this is something that, if you're working with me in any capacity, is going to be a part of the equation, right? So just know that, and that's why I'm here, sharing with you everything that I can, right? So share this with somebody. Like I said, hit the like button. If you hear something that is game changing for you or eye opening, right? Then I want you to send a gift, right? So you said, Greg, you said unless you have nothing and plans to default. Hey, if you don't have a plan for what you're going to do with these funds, then this is not for you, Greg, right? And anybody else. This is not for it's not play around money. This is not I'm about to go on vacation. This is not I'm about to get some shoes money. This is I want to add value to the world. And when you add value to the world, the more value you add, the result of that is you get more money back. What I'm telling you is you can leverage someone else's money to be able to make new money. And the thought process that you go through when you access these funds is totally different than you doing it on your own, right? One case in point is a lot of us may not think to pay for a mentorship, right? To pay for mentorship, upwards of $20,000, 25,000, $10,000, $40,000, right? When you have business credit, you can do things like that. And some of those mentorships, so if you vet them properly, their promise is, hey, I'm going to teach you how to make $100,000 a month. I'm going to teach you how to make $200,000 in a day. I'm going to teach you how to make $30,000 reoccurring every month, right? So those are the things that's a different conversation, and there's different rooms that you can get in. There's a different mindset you have when you have the funding backing you, right? Lack of capital is one of the biggest issues with people being able to move forward in their life and in their business. And we can strip away this by giving you access to these funds. Now, like we said, we want to make sure that we are smart with it and that we're doing the right thing, right? So let's go back. I'm going to jump back. I'm going through the exact blueprint on exactly what it's going to be, but I want to make sure we get your questions answered, right? So thank you guys for tapping in. Thanks for the shares. Let's get this going. All right. So I'm going to look for my first question. Guys, put your questions in the chat. All right. So here we go. So we said, Farah says, I have an LLC. How can I get business funding? All right. This is exactly what we're going to talk about. There's multiple ways, lots of ways to get funded, you guys. I just want to make sure that you understand the power of this particular strategy, right? Of leveraging the 0% business credit stacking approach, because it removes so much of the red tape, and you are potentially able to take advantage of this. And I'm going to share with you some ways that you can take advantage of this right now, regardless of if you are officially qualified for this, or you have the credit profile that we're about to go through, because there are some ways and some things you can do, some approaches you can take to be able to leverage this anyway. All right. So I want to make sure that you guys are taking notes, taking this seriously. And I'm glad that we are here together this evening, because this is powerful information, right? So here we go. How many cards are we supposed to have, Edison? All right. So we're going to talk about the cards. All right. I might as well just go through the blueprint, but let's come back through to the rest of the questions and see if there's anything else that stands out. Right. Iora, thanks for the share, and Tia, thanks for the share. All right. So here we go. So what if you have high utilization on personal credit and cannot get personal loan approvals? All right, Target Resources. So let's talk that through. All right, let's talk that through. And Edison, let's just answer your question real quick. I'm gonna go through the questions since I want to prioritize those, and then we'll go through the blueprint, right? How many cards are we supposed to have? Now, your card limits. This is bullet point number 1. This is one of the most important ones. So please write this down. Your card limits, right? Overall, if you add up all your cards, need to be at 10 to 15,000 overall across all your cards. And you need to have at least 2 cards that are $3,000 or higher, right? This is going to be a starting point for the sweet spot to be able to get access to funding. Now, the number of cards that is may not matter. If you have 2 cards that are $10,000 each, that means you got 20,000 total. Then you check that box, and you also check the box of 3,000 or more, right? If you got 4 to 5 cards, cool. But we're looking at what is that overall limit that you have been able to manage. The higher your limits on the personal side, the higher the approvals are going to be on the business side. And on the business credit side, it's going to be a multiple. It's going to be more than what you started with, right? On the personal credit side. All right, so let's get to the rest of these questions. Again, put your questions in the chat. You guys be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to share this with somebody so that they can get this information, and let's get it pushed forward, right? So someone talked about utilization. What if I have high utilization and cannot get personal loan approvals? Now, first, Target Resources. Let's talk about why would we want to get a personal loan approval? Because a lot of people are probably not familiar with this hack. This is a great time to share this with somebody so that someone can catch this sauce real quick. What is the utilization hack, right? Now, just breaking it down very quickly, is your personal credit score is based on certain factors, and your utilization is a big chunk of that. Typically about 30% of your score is based on your utilization. Now, this utilization is on your credit card debt, your revolving credit card debt. What it's not based on is installment loan products. What are installment products? That is like personal loans or auto loans or anything like that. So if you can take your personal credit card debt and shift it over to another vehicle like a personal loan or something like that, you can immediately change your utilization. You can drop it down to zero, which drastically increases your credit score by up to 160, 170 points, right? Depending on where that began, right? So what you're going to do is now, okay, we have these personal credit balances. We paid those balances down, and now our credit score goes up. Now we are able to access funding, right? So our debt didn't change. So whatever amount that we had to begin with, this is the same amount that we have on the personal loan, right? So we still owe it. However, number one, it's going to be a lot less because the interest that we're going to pay is going to be lower, point blank and period, right? Even if we left it there, that would be a smart move because our credit score would increase, right? Interest rate would go down. But we can move this over. Now we're ready for business funding. If this is the only thing holding you back from business funding, and we're going to talk about the exact things that you would need to be able to set this up. So please stay on it and take notes, right? Now you're ready for business funding, meaning now we're ready to get you access to 100K, to 120K, to 150K, right? To 80K, to 50K, whatever it might be. Once you do that, now we can shift and move over that personal loan amount that you just got over to business credit at, guess what? 0% interest. So now we just went from 29% interest, 25% interest on the personal credit cards, and now all the way over to 0% interest on the business credit. And guess what? Here's the other kicker is when you do this, you do not have, these accounts do not show up on your personal credit, right? So the amount that you just shifted over is now off of your credit report completely because it's only on the business credit side. So this is a power move. Now, Target Resources. Let's get back to your, I hope you guys don't let that go over your head. Please write that down, you guys. Like I said, share this with somebody. Don't gatekeep. I'm not gatekeeping. You don't either, right? Hit the like button, share this. That is a game changer. Some of you are only 1 or 2 moves away. And for some of you, that utilization is the one move that you have to do to be able to be ready for funding. And that literally can happen in the matter of a day or two, 24 hours, 48 hours, depending on if you get tapped in with the right solution. Okay. So Target Resources. What I suggest, number one, is if you're tapped in with the right team, then someone can tell you, okay, these are the options that can work with you, because there might be some options out there that can get you an approval that you might not know about. So what you're going to do is you need to go to fundingmyfuture.net. If you don't do anything else tonight, claim your free slot with the team, right? A free consultation slot at fundingmyfuture.net, or you can go and hit the link in my bio, or you can text me at 240, 240, 640, and then 2. All right, I'm going to put that in the chat and I'm going to pin it. 240, 240, 640, and 2. All right, you can text me and I will send you the direct link. Okay. Now, here's the other thing. Target Resources. Here's the other thing. So if you can't get approved for that, like that's the number one way. If you're determined to do it yourself, then this is what I would say. So there are, if we're leveraging this as a part of this strategy, if you know that this is the only thing holding you back from getting business credit and getting funded, all right, then this utilization, right, we can deal with it obviously with a personal loan like we just talked about. But if you can't get access to them, the fact that we're getting out of this in a very short amount of time means we can lower our standard for what type of loan that we get for the personal loan, right? So there are lenders, they're typically called subprime lenders, right, that can give you a personal loan, but it's going to be like a lot higher interest rate, right? Because maybe your credit score is lower and things like that. So, but guess what? We don't necessarily care about that. Why? Because we're about to move this over to business credit later, if we either liquidate or do some balance transfer methods or different things like that. But we're going to move this over fairly quickly. So we don't mind if it's a high interest rate, as long as we can get approved for it and we can shift those funds over from our personal credit card debt, open that up. Now we're ready for funding. Now we paid it off and it's all a wash because we've basically eliminated that personal loan. So that is the short answer. Target Resources. And which lenders do you go to? You got to be able to research those. You can look up subprime lenders, right? And maybe you could try some of those out. But again, the more of those you try out, you're getting more inquiries that you have to deal with. You're getting more, so if you want to take out the headache, take out the guesswork, then you should tap in with the team. Again, fundingmyfuture.net, or you can text me at 240 240 640 and 2. All right. All right, here we go. So how can I get approved with no income proof? Aries, God of War. All right. How you can get approved with no income proof? This is exactly how this works, because we're bringing what we're bringing to the table is we're bringing this credit profile. There's 3 things you could bring to the table to get funded. Number 1 is credit, which we're about to talk about tonight, and this is one of the easiest and most powerful things you could use. Number 2 is going to be cash, meaning I have revenue in my business and we make $15,000 a month. Easy. We make $30,000, and we've been doing that for the past 6 months, for the past year, and I can show you the bank statements. You can get funded off of that. Now, it's not going to be 0% interest necessarily, but you can get funded off of that. There's different products you can access. Now, the third thing that you can bring, right, is going to be collateral, which might be, do you have real estate? Do you have properties? Do I have life insurance? Do I have stock portfolios? You can leverage those things. So when we're bringing credit to the table, Aries, God of War, when we're bringing credit to the table, now this is how we're able to get in without proving revenue, because they are betting on you as the backer of this business, essentially, right? That you're going to execute on what you said. And we're actually able to use what's called a projected income for the revenue for our business. This is how, in case we don't have any revenue showing yet, this is how we can do that, right? Because we're projecting, if we have access to these funds, this is what we're going to make in this coming year once we execute what we're doing. All right. And that's a hack. Hopefully that doesn't go over your head. All right. Thank you guys for sharing. Let's keep going through. Let's keep going through. You guys put your questions in the chat. Questions in the chat. George Francis, thanks for the follow, and thanks for the share. All right, Lady K, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. Be bold. Thank you guys. All right. All right, here we go. So Be Bold says a lot of experts suggesting EIN business funding, but you are suggesting to use personal credit too. Yes, 1,000%. 1,000%. Right. And I think the concept of EIN business funding, it's like this thing where to some degree it's smart, right? To say, okay, I'm not tied to this personally at all, which is cool. However, it severely limits 2 things. It gives you an excuse to not have good credit, right? That's number 1, because again, good credit is going to impact almost everything else in your life. And it opens up an unlimited fountain of access to funds in the future if you just do this one thing of getting good personal credit. Now, guess what? The good news is, even if you have issues in your credit, our team has been helping people, and typically people are getting results in the first 90 days. So you could be 90 days away from having improved credit, right? If you don't have a profile that's built up properly or robust enough, then we can start building now. Even if it took you 6 months, even if it took you a year to add the right accounts and make sure you get some credit cards that have this. And I'm about to share you the exact blueprint that it's going to take to have a robust enough profile. And if you start building that, then would it be worth it to say at the end of that time period, now I'm ready to access practically an unlimited amount of funding? And then, just like I talked with my friend at the beginning of the live, who we were talking about no PG, the best way to get into no PG in the future, larger dollars with no PG, is to leverage this strategy, because now we're putting these large limit lines on our business credit report. Again, $20,000, because these are the limits on these credit cards that we're getting. And these are the things that show up on our business credit, right? Instead of starting with net 30 accounts and $500 U line and $1,000 this and we're starting off with these big boy accounts, and that gives our business a leg up. So now if we want to do no PG, then we can do that in the future. All right. But now we've got both, because now we didn't avoid our personal credit, right? We didn't close our eyes and put our heads in the sand about it. We improved it, but now we're also ready to get access to business funding now, as well as bigger funding in the future. So this is what we were talking about. All right. So let's keep going. Again, I'm going to break down the exact thing. All right. Clarabelle. Clarabelle Ledger. Lopez. Thanks for the share. Appreciate you. Yep. I see some people are down with abundance as well. Yep. That boy Mills, thanks for the follow. Linda, thanks for the share. Thank you guys so much. All right, here we go. So can we just use TransUnion report with your LLC? Yes, I am Christopher. You can. All right, and this is part of the strategy. Now, again, we don't want to avoid any improvement to our personal credit, right? But if we need to make moves within a certain time frame, if your TransUnion is solid and everything else is not for some reason, then we can target banks that deal with TransUnion. This is why when you go to fundingmyfuture.net, when you book a call with a team and you get a free consultation, that consultation is going to be looking at your specific situation. It is not a cookie cutter approach, right? It's very detailed. So we're looking at what do you need and what does your profile look like? Now, if you have issues in those, then we might as well fix them so we can push forward with all of it. But if you do need it, or if you decide to navigate some of this stuff on your own, then technically you can do certain banks and institutions that only pull from TransUnion. And you can figure that out. You can Google it. There's ways to know, okay, well, which banks, when you get their business credit products or whatever they're doing, which banks pull only from TransUnion. And this is a part of making the sequence, right? But it is kind of a lot to know, okay, what order do we put the banks in, right? Which inquiries and what timeline and all this different stuff. It's like a chess match to try to figure out how to put all this together. Again, this is the value of these consultations that you're going to get because it is catered to who you are and what you're doing and what your goals are. All right. Put your questions in the chat. Thank you guys. Again, please share this with somebody. Share this with somebody. And I want to break down the exact thing that you need. So let's get through the rest of these questions. All right. So we talked about income. Is it better to put, Rashid says, is it better to put my LLC in a trust for better loans? All right. So I can't speak to better loans or not. All right. And the trust approach, I think is a smart one if you have a need for that. If you have that strategy, if you're at that level in your wealth journey, right? There's some people that do a trust now that may not be super impactful for right now for where they are. All right. But when it comes to loans, when you say better loans, I don't think it would be better loans necessarily. And when it comes to this exact strategy that I'm talking about, when we're talking about 0% business credit stacking, right? That doesn't necessarily apply because we can do this for almost any entity structure type, even if you're a sole proprietor, which a lot of people say to never do that, right? Even if you're a sole proprietor, we can get you funded under this same strategy that I'm about to share right now, right? If you're an LLC, if you got an S corp, if you got a, so when you have it in a trust, that's more of a protection. There's tax strategy. There's other things that's outside of the scope of this call and outside of the scope of what I do typically. However, when we're talking about this funding approach, you can get access to 100K, 120K, 150K, 80K in the next 30 days with or without that, right? Lady K, what is a PG? Hopefully you know that. Hopefully you know that by now, right? Qualilu and haha said, I'm confused. Are we using our personal credit instead of EIN? We're leveraging our personal credit, and PG, Lady K, PG is personal guarantee, right? Which means that I am guaranteeing personally that if something goes left super sideways with all this, then I'm going to make sure that you get your money back. That's what that's saying. It's a personal guarantee. So these accounts, right? So we said, are we using our personal credit instead of our EIN? We're using our EIN. However, we're leveraging our personal credit to get into the door, right? Now, a lot of these things, this again, you're not going to avoid personal credit, or it's wise to not avoid personal credit. Because even if you do no PG products, if it's anything having to do with like cash credit, lines of credit, and things like that, that's more like money as opposed to you have access to buy something from a particular store, or you can get gas and then pay it back. Something that's like more like money you can use anywhere. They're going to be looking at your personal credit, right? Most all the time. They're looking at your personal credit to determine what type of terms that you're going to get, even if they don't have a PG, right? Even if it's only tied to your EIN. So we're using the EIN because these business credit cards and accounts do not show up on your personal credit once you get them. So let me know if that makes sense. We're using our personal credit to get into the door and to be able to obtain high limits, and also to be able to obtain these without having to submit all these documents, right? Tax returns and personal financial statements and business revenue, business plans, right? W-2s. We don't need to submit any of that when we leverage it in this way. But once we get the accounts, once we get the credit cards, once we get that 0% interest funding, now those things do not show up on our personal credit. So it's still separate. We're still leveraging our EIN, which is why we need to access an LLC or an entity to be able to do this. So let me know, Kuala Indihaha. Let me know if that makes sense. All right, Nolly Smith, thanks for the share. Yep. Lula. Is that how you say Lula? Yep. Okay. So are these zero APR generally? Yes. 0% interest. 0% interest for 12 to 18 months. So now speaking of what are we going to do with this funding, you need to be able to say, okay, what can I execute in the next 6 months that's going to make more money than I used, right? Am I making profit? What am I doing? And again, if you use it with the right strategy, there's a whole lot of things you can do to be able to maximize that. But if you don't have that, just say, okay, what can I do in the next 30 days? What am I doing in the next 9 months, in the next 12 months? Whether that, again, that could be real estate, could be different types of business. It could be a marketing for your business and ad structure and things like that, webinars and all sorts of stuff. If your plan is, okay, I'm going to dump this in the stock market and expect to get a return on it at 9% for the next 20 years and then pull it out, this is not suited for that, right? This is like now money. I want to execute now to be able to generate value now and generate income now. All right. Again, put your questions in the chat. Shades of Gray Art, thanks for the follow. All right, here we go. So what's the difference between LLC and Inc. or corporation? All right, for the purposes of this conversation, like I'm saying, and I will break down what I know about it, but for the purpose of this conversation, none of those matter when it comes to if you have any one of them, you can still get access to 100K in the next 30 days. If you have this profile that I'm about to share, and if you have this business entity structure, and the structure really is how this business presents itself to the banks. How does this business look on paper? That's what I mean when I talk about business structure. That can be kind of confusing because people talk about tax structure and tax election and C Corp and S Corp and all this different stuff, LLC, partnership, right? When we have the right structure, meaning how does this business look to the banks? When we have those two things together, then we can move forward. Now, just a separate conversation about which one is best. You need to consult based on your goals, right? Consult your CPA or your attorneys or whatever it is that you're doing for your situation, because I'll just say you don't necessarily want to start an S Corp if you don't make a certain amount of money, because it's going to cost a certain amount to be able to pay yourself through the S Corp. If you're not making enough money, it's not going to make enough sense, right? There's a lot of details to run a corporation, right? And there's some benefits to be able to do that. But again, if we're saying if you can't leverage $150,000 or $120,000 to be able to execute on whatever business that you're looking to do right now, then you probably have a separate issue, right? So you want to look at consult your CPA for your situation and your goals. And again, if you're tapped in with the team, we can probably advise you loosely on that. But really the focus is to be able to get you funded and to improve your credit. All right, let me know if that makes sense. Ali01 says, is there a coaching if you don't have a 6-month or 30-day plan? All right, so I would say you can message me and I can share some resources. If you don't know what that is, then you need to start researching. All right, you need to start researching and looking at, okay, well, what industry and what outcome do I want? This is just a little personal advice. What outcome do I want? And what's the size of that outcome? Right? Am I looking for like $5,000 a month? That would be life-changing. Am I looking for $10,000, $20,000 a month, $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month? What is the outcome that I want based on the lifestyle that I want and based on the things that I want to do? And then we're going to match that with, okay, well, what type of business does that? That's number 2. And then number 3 is, okay, well, who are the people who have done this? And how can I tap in with them? And if you have business credit, then you can tap in with them, because you can access practically anybody in the world for between $3,000 all the way up to $50,000. If you can pay that amount to somebody, they have a inner circle or a high ticket program or something. You can get exactly what their blueprint is for that amount. And it's a different ball game when you have that capital sitting behind you to be able to use to execute and to get into the room. All right. So Ali 01, let me know if that's helpful. All right. So that's the main thing that I would say, but you need to be looking at that. Now, there might be some people on here, and I'm just going to jump to the shortcut for what do you do? What do you do if you are not qualified for this right now? Right? Pay attention to this, Ali 01 as well. If you're not qualified for this right now, I'm about to break down the exact thing you need in your personal credit profile to make sure that you are solid, good to go. Right? You could access 100K in the next 30 days, 80K, 120K. And literally, case in point, one of my recent clients, from the time she booked a call with the team to the time that she had $90,000 available for her real estate business was 22 days. All right. She followed the steps. Boom, boom, boom. 22 days. Right. Yep. Quality, what's up? Sub 2 in the house. We are in the house. Indeed. Yep. Special K, what's going on? How do I get 100K in biz funding? That's what we're here to talk about. Right. And Yant CEO says, what about a nonprofit? So nonprofit, you have lots of options, right? That's outside of the scope of what we're about to talk about, right? So there's lots of options. And I would say you need to look up the word, I'll just at least tell you CDFI. You need to be very familiar with that. Community Development Financial Institution. And there's local banks that have different programs to be able to help out either nonprofits or for-profits if the for-profit is benefiting the community in some way. Right? Again, grant funding and all sorts of stuff. So you need to be looking at that. 100%. You need to be looking at that. But this is a tool that you probably should be leveraging, period. Right? In one way or another, because now I could say, again, I got $100,000, $150,000, $120,000 in business credit at 0% that I could be using for practically anything that's going to be adding value to the world and making more money. All right. So now let's jump back to this. For those of you that do not qualify for this, say, man, Kyle, I'm not anywhere near this. This is how you're going to leverage this. And this is how potentially you could help out Ali 01, potentially. All right. Number one is I'm going to tell you the exact steps. So once you know them, you say, you know what? If I found a person that has and embodies this exact profile, then they could get funded. This is what we call a credit partner. Please write this down. It's a credit partner. You guys share this, hit the like button, you guys. Thanks for the gifts. This is valuable information. It is late 30 almost, as I like to say. And if my daughter wakes up at any moment during this, then the live is going to be over, right? Immediately. If I have to go ahead and get her, she's 2. So I am on here sharing this information as much as I can while I can. Right? Because I want you to be able to push your life forward. And this is like powerful stuff. So a credit partner is a game changer, because if Ali 01 qualifies for this stuff, but I don't know what I'm going to do with the money. I don't know how to execute that. I don't know where to start, but you are like, I know exactly what I would do. I have the drive to do it. I'm ready to execute it. I literally just need the funds, and my credit is just not in the place that it needs to be. You could find a credit partner and we can get them funded 100K, 120K, 150K. Again, this is in the first 30 days, 80K in the first 30 days. We can rinse and repeat this every 6 to 12 months. Right? What state am I in? I'm in Maryland. Lula. Every 6 to 12 months, we can rinse and repeat this. So this is how people are able to stack up to 200,000, 300,000, 400,000. Like I said, between myself and my wife, we got over $500,000 that we were able to use for pretty much whatever we want, right? So you can get a credit partner, which means that you watching this right now, even though you're going to be working on your credit for maybe a little while, and we already talked about how you're not going to be scared of working on credit, right? Because it's going to help and improve things across the board. But we can also take action now by leveraging a credit partner, because we can get them funded. Either we can create an LLC for them, or we can add them to your operating agreement, like a temporary thing, so that the banks are going to look at their profile when it comes time to give the approvals. Let me know if that is eye-opening for you guys or not. Thinking a little bit outside the box. Now that opens up an entire world, because all you need is one person to be able to push things forward. Now, here's the third way. Ali, while you wait, Ali01, while you wait for this and say, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do. When I give you this blueprint right now, I know I've been saying it, right? But we're about to go into it for real. When I give you the blueprint, you say, okay, this is the exact profile that someone would need. You could literally just be referring people who are looking for funding that have that profile, and you could be getting paid out affiliate referral payouts right now. $1,000 a client, $2,000, $3,000, $2,500, not far-fetched at all per client. And you do the math on that. If you were to do that once a month, if you do that twice a month, you can stumble into that. You can stumble into $5,000. You do it twice a month. If you put some effort into it and did it 6 times a month, you do the math. Right? So this is how, hey, you could be leveraging this information right now. This, what I'm giving you right now, you can leverage it. Okay. So let me know if that makes sense, Ali, if that's helpful. All right, here we go. So I think we're almost ready to get into it. So Special K, you said you started a medical transportation LLC in Seattle. You can definitely leverage business credit to support that 1,000%. Payroll on the money. Thanks for the follow. All right. Ox the Man, appreciate the follow. Coach T said this is so interesting. This is crazy. It's crazy. It is crazy stuff, which is why I am here at 12:30 my time. Where are you guys tapping in from? What state are you guys in? What time zone are you in? What city? Because I've been on here late because that's the only time I can do with my schedule with my kids. But this is such powerful information that I have to share it with you. I feel obligated because it's crazy. Genuine Lineman, thanks for the follow. Is that Ivy Biz Boss? Thanks for the follow. All right, so Special K, you have 725 credit score. So that's good, Special K. We need to look at your profile even more than your score, right? Which we're going to talk about this right now. Even more than your score, the profile is critical because you could have a 720 credit score. You could have a 750, a 780, and still get denied because you don't have the right things in the profile. This is the sauce that you need to understand, which I'm going to break down. I hope you have your pins. Again, I hope you're sharing this with somebody. Right? Let's dive into it. Let's see where we tapping in from. So somebody says you want the referral part and you can work with your community 1,000%. How do you do that? Right? I need you to send me. You can comment affiliate in the chat, but I want you to text me the word affiliate and text me your name in that text message as well. Again, 240-642. 240-240-6402. You can text me and I will send you the information about getting signed up as an affiliate. Right? And you'll have a link and you just connect somebody. And I'm telling you, I just not too long ago, somebody sent me a referral. A friend of mine sent me a referral, and she is super pregnant, not thinking about any of this other stuff. And she didn't lift another finger after she sent that person in. She didn't have to do any work. And I literally sent her $2,252. It's probably like 30 days later for one client. And that was all she did. Right? So if you put any amount of effort into that, then you can double up, triple it, whatever you want to do, as that's a real thing. Okay. So make sure you send me a text. Like I said, if you can only put it in the chat here, then I'll try to, it's just easier for me to keep up with text, especially this late and once the live ends. All right. So again, everybody here can be leveraging this information. Do not run from fixing your personal credit. And again, our team can help with getting you situated to get your credit repaired, but also to get your credit optimized. Right? There's different types of credit fixing. Some people only know how to take stuff out. Okay, we will remove everything, we delete everything, but now you got nothing left. Right? You need to also know, okay, what needs to stay in there, what needs to go in there to make it as robust as possible so that I can get the max funding. This is what we're able to do on both sides. So either you're moving forward now to help and fix your credit, right? Either you are leveraging this through a credit partner, and you can start to execute on business now, or you're leveraging this information to say, okay, I know exactly what's needed for somebody to be able to get 100K in the next 30 days or 120K in the next 30 days, and you can just be getting paid out on affiliate referrals. All right, so here we go. So where are we at? Where are we at? California. That's where I'm from originally. Which part, Lula? Which part of Cali are you? CST, Texas. Las Vegas. Yep, Philly in the house. More CA from AMD 23. Lady K's from Connecticut. Dope. Pacific, Special K. Awesome. Vindy Indy, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Thanks for the follow, Special K. And Angelise Estefans, thanks for the follow. Derek's from Chicago. All right. Din Mondi, thanks for the follow. Thank you. All right. So I see some people saying affiliate. Like I said, send me a text. I see some popping through. Send me a text and send me your name as well, so I know how to put it in there properly and how to track it. Yep, Diego, thanks for the follow. Yep. All right. So the thing is, you need 0 APR. Yeah. This is what we're doing. Okay. We're talking about how we're getting this 0% interest. Yep. If you connect, you need to fill out 1099. Yes, you will need to fill out 1099 payroll on the money. You will need to fill out a 1099. Yep, that's going to be part of it because we're going to be paying you out. And yep, that's what it is. Jenny Preco, thanks for the follow. All right, here we go. Pins out, you guys. Pins out. This is the blueprint. If this is a great time to share this with somebody, if you have not already. All right, share this with somebody because someone could stumble across this. Hit the like button. Give a gift if you feel like this has been valuable, impactful for you. Because that lets the algorithm know it's going to push it out to more people, and someone could stumble across this and just say, "This is crazy. I never knew that this stuff was even real." All right, here we go. Number one, I'm gonna zip through this. Write this down. Number one, we talked about this earlier. Your credit card limits on your personal cards, if you add all of them up, is it more than 15,000? 10 to 15,000 you can squeeze in the door. All right. And out of those cards, you have at least 2 cards that are $3,000 limit or higher. And ideally, you've had those cards for a year or more. All right. If you are solid with that, I want you to put a 1 in the chat. If you don't have that, I want you to put cards in the chat. Thanks for the follow, Spa Mama. Appreciate you. All right. There we go. So I'm seeing some 1s. Seeing some 1s in the chat. Seeing some cards in the chat. Like I said, don't fear it if you don't have it. Now it's just time to build up. Now it's just time to start getting these things, start doing some credit limit increases. And you might need to target some high limit credit cards. And I will tell you, there are some credit unions, all right? Credit unions and some banks and regional banks and things like that offer high limit cards, even if you're just kind of starting out. So it would be smart to just get some bigger ones to start off with. All right. So a lot of people are tracking. A lot of people are tracking with the number 1. All right. Here's number 2. Write this down. Your utilization needs to be below 30%. Ideally, it's below 10% across all of your accounts, as well as each individual account. All right. It's got to be both. So if you have that utilization under 30% at least, then let's put number 2 in the chat. Put a 2 in the chat. If you don't have that, if you're above 30%, or either on an individual card or across the board, then I want you to put utilization in the chat. Special K, 2 cards for 20K, but not biz credit cards. We're talking about personal credit cards, Special K. We're talking about personal credit cards. So we're not even on business credit yet. All right. Personal credit cards. Now, Ali01, we already talked about, were you here when we talked about the utilization hack of the century, of how you can deal with utilization if that's the only thing holding you back? Samia Adan, thanks for the share. Let me know if that's the right way to say it. All right. So here we go. So if you weren't here for the hack, let's go through it now. So we're still on bullet point number 2, your utilization. If the utilization is the only thing holding you back, if it's the only thing holding you back, then you have something you can do to be able to push this through in short order. And I need you to write this down. All right, I'm going to say it one more time. Your utilization and your credit score, a big chunk of your credit score, 30% to be precise, is based on how much you're using on your credit cards. Right? The more you're using, the lower the score is. The less you're using, the higher the score. And this is about 160, 170 points of your credit score is based on that. Here's what it's not based on. Installment products, things like loans, personal loans, debt consolidation, auto loans, things like that. It's not based on that. So here's the play, if we can just shift over whatever debt that we have on the personal cards and literally shift it over to another vehicle, that changes the entire game. So what does that look like? If I've got $10,000 on my credit cards, on my balances that I'm using, I can literally get a personal loan in the next 24 to 48 hours. And if you're tapped in with the team, again, fundingmyfuture.net, or you can text me, right? 240, 640, and 2. You can text me and I will send you the direct link. But when you're tapped in with the team, they can lead you to options that are going to work for you, right? Work for you in your profile or wherever you're at, especially if this is the only thing holding you back from funding. In the next 24 to 48 hours, you can get a personal loan for $10,000 and pay off all of the credit card debt, right? Now, guess what? The debt didn't change necessarily because you still owe $10,000 on the personal loan. But because it shifted from one place to another, now your credit score shoots up through the roof. And now you are, best of all, you are ready for funding. So now we can get you funded $80K, $100K, $120K, $150K in the next 30 days. And then what you can do is we can take that new business credit at 0% interest and we can move over the personal loan amount, that $10,000, over to the business credit. So now we just went from 25% on the personal credit card, 29%, 28%, 31%, and now we went over to 0% interest. So how much cash flow are we saving on that? Just off the rip. Now it is off of our personal credit completely because the business credit balances do not report to our personal credit profile. Powerful stuff. So now the question is, with the remaining amount that I have on business credit, what am I going to do to make new money, to add new value to the world? And in return, the world is going to return to me money when I add value to it. So the more people you can add value or the bigger problems you can solve, the more comes back. That's how it works. Hopefully that was eye-opening for some people. All right. So you want the percentage. Is the credit utilization needed percentage? Yeah. So we need it, again, below 30% on each card or across the board. Ideally, we're below 10%. All right. Let's keep going. Hopefully that was helpful, Alio1. And Eagle EAZ, thanks for the follow. T, thanks for the follow. All right, here we go. You guys, again, please share this with somebody. Thanks for hitting the like button. All right, thanks for the gifts. Appreciate you guys. Number 3, your inquiries on your personal credit need to be 3 or less, 3 or fewer per bureau. 3 or less per bureau. Now, we're going to talk about inquiries and why this strategy is so important because we can deal with any inquiries that are not tied to open and active accounts on our personal credit report. We can deal with that. All right, so number 3 is inquiries. If you have less than 3 inquiries, and ideally as few as possible in the last 6 months, because you can write this down, please. The inquiries that are in the recent 6 months have more impact on funding decisions than those that are older than 6 months. All right. So if you have that, Jenny Williams, thanks for the follow. If you have that, then I want you to put a 3 in the chat. You've got less than 3 inquiries. And if you don't, I want you to put inquiries in the chat. Cloud, thanks for the follow. All right, here we go. A lot of us are tracking. with 3s. I'm seeing some 3s. Here we go. Number 4. Jacino, thanks for the follow. All right. And if you got inquiries, like I said, Any inquiry that's not tied to an open and active account on your personal credit report, technically we have the ability to remove those inquiries from your report. Which is why when we do this business credit stacking, and this is the only way this is going to impact your personal credit in the beginning, is when, like I said, we're leveraging our personal credit to get into the door to be able to access these high limits and these no doc programs on business credit. But the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to pull a hard inquiry from your credit report. All right. So you have a hard inquiry. And then we're going to multiple banks and getting these 0% cards from multiple banks. So we're going to have multiple inquiries. But guess what? None of those business credit cards show up on our personal credit. They don't report to our personal credit. So for that reason, we can actually go through and remove and wipe off all of those inquiries off our report. So everything that we got, we wiped off. And guess what? Now we can rinse and repeat and do it the cycle again. That's the power of this. All right. So here we go. Number 4. So that was number 3. Number 4, for our total accounts on our credit report, do you have at least 7 to 10 primary accounts? That means in your name on your report. So if you've got 7 to 10 or more, then you're solid. I want you to put a 4 in the chat. If you have less than 7 accounts total on your report, I want you to put accounts. All right, I'm seeing some 4s. All right, here we go. If you put accounts in the chat, then now it's just time to start building. Like I said, my suggestion is you start building under consultation of somebody that knows exactly what's needed to be able to get funded by going to fundingmyfuture.net and getting a call with a team. Yep, I'm seeing some. I see it a 4 in the chat. Get a consultation call booked with a team. That's what I suggest. If you're going to navigate it on your own, then start building up now. You could start researching, okay, well, what accounts do I need to be able to build up if you're determined to do that? All right, but now is the time to start building. All right, here we go. Number 5. We're getting close. Number 5 is your average age of your credit needs to be 2 years or more. Average age of your credit, 2 years or more. Ideally, it's 4 to 5 years or more. That's the sweet spot. If you're less than 2 years, then that's going to be an issue that we need to deal with. We have ways to do that. So let me know if you're tracking. This is number 5. I want you to put a 5 in the chat if your average age of all your credit accounts is more than 2 years. I want you, and if not, I want you to put age in the chat. Put age in the chat. All right, I'm seeing some 5s. All right, here we go. Last, number 6. We want no derogatories, which means no late payments in the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, meaning that if you have a late payment that's older than 2 years old, we can squeeze in the door. So no late payments in the last 2 years, no collections, no charge-offs, no bankruptcy. If you have no derogatories, I want you to put a 6 in the chat. No derogatories. If you got some of those, then I want you to put which one do you have? You got a late payment, you got a collection, you got a charge off, you got a bankruptcy, which one? I'm seeing some 6s popping in. Again, like I said, if you have issues and you need help with removing things from your credit, optimizing your credit, a lot of our clients are seeing results in the first 90 days. So you might be closer than you think. All right, somebody's got a charge-offs. Hey, you could be 90 days away. Sometimes it happens sooner, sometimes it takes longer. Right? Late payment within the last 2 years. Wife in training, late payment. That's fine. We're going to start today to get rolling on it, because if we do it, if we move forward and we say, okay, by this time, February and March, I'm ready to access 100K, 120K. Would it be worth it? You'll be thanking yourself for taking action today to move that. All right. So I see you got late and a collection. No worries. Let's start today. Let's start today to clean it up. Again, fundingmyfuture.net. Book a call with the team or You can text me at 240 6402, and I'll send you the direct link. But just get tapped in now. All right, that's the fastest way to do it. If you're determined to do it yourself, then just start today at least. All right, Black Panther, thanks for the follow. All right, so that was it, you guys. That's the sauce right there. That's the sauce right there. I'm gonna zip through one more time. All right, Fly Tina Fly, credit stacking ebook. Are you asking for one? Do you want one, or you have one? Because this is like, this is the sauce that I just gave you as far as what you would need in an ebook. You know, this is pretty much the ebook that I just gave you. It's exactly what you need to be able to set yourself up for success when it comes to funding. Yeah, Miguel Rodriguez, thanks for the follow. So let's zip through again. Number one was your credit card limits. Is it $10,000 to $15,000 or more? If you add up all your limits. Number two, your utilization is below 30%. We talked about the utilization hack to be able to navigate that. Your increase is at 0 to 3 increase per bureau. Max. Right? Fly Tina Fly. You thought you were in the search bar? Hey, you searched in the right place. If you need a credit stacking ebook, this is what we're talking about. You might not even need the ebook by the time we're done, but if you want one, I can get you. Fresh Flicks, where's the link for the book? Text me. I can get you something. All right. What is the text again? 240, 640, and 240, 6402. Hey, it was a happy mistake, Fly Tina Fly. That was a happy mistake. All right, so that was it. So the increase, 0 to 3 increase. You have at least 7 to 10 accounts reporting on your profile. Your average age is above 2 years. Ideally, it's 4 to 5 years or more. You have no derogatories, no late payments in the last 2 years at least, no collections, no charge-offs, and no bankruptcy. If you have a check mark on all that, I want you to put ready in the chat. Put ready in the chat. If all that was good. Hey, I'm solid, good to go. Uh-oh, I got the bat signal. This might be the perfect timing. Baby girl is up, so we might have to end this earlier than I wanted to. Who's putting ready in the chat? Who is putting ready in the chat? I warned you and I told you, if baby girl gets up, then this live might be ending in short order. Who's putting ready in the chat? This is what I suggest. Skinny jeans and big skirts. This is what I suggest. Is that you book a consultation call with a team. Again, you can text me at 240 6402. I will send you the direct link as soon as I'm done with baby girl. Whatever time that is, I will send you the direct link to be able to get connected, or you can just go straight to the site or hit the link in my bio. Right? So much love. Hopefully, maybe I'll be able to hop back on in a little bit. But I appreciate this time to be able to be here with you and share this valuable and powerful information, this blueprint with you guys. So much love. Stay tapped in, and I will see you guys next time around. Much love. Peace.